Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to a brand new video with a new addition to our family. So this is, I don't know how well you can see him, but he is very peacefully sleeping after having a feed. But this is baby Finley. And baby Finley is 2 weeks old and he's just the most perfect little baby on the planet. Obviously, apart from George, they're equally as perfect. But yeah, this has been, and I wanted to come on and film a birth story, like a labour video with you today. I've been wanting to film it now for a couple of weeks. Finn is 2 weeks old tomorrow. So I really wanted to come on before I start forgetting, not that I would forget the birth story, but I wanted to come on and sort of film it before I might forget like the smaller details. I was thinking of filming my birth if I was to have like a natural labour, because I feel like you can talk to the camera a bit more and be a bit more sort of involved with it, but I ended up having a C-section, so it's a little bit more difficult to actually film, so I just thought I would leave it, take a couple of weeks off after having him, as recovery hasn't been great, and then come on and just sit down with you really and talk about how the birth went and what really like the process was, and sort of how we're both doing. Guys, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please hit that subscribe button down below. I'd really appreciate it. And if you liked today's video, please give it a big thumbs up as well. But without further ado, let's get into today's video. So as I briefly mentioned then, we had a C-section. It was a bit sort of all up in the air as to how the birth was going to go in terms of what I was going to be having. So with numerous problems, I won't go into too much detail. I will link my pregnancy playlist down below, and there are updates, like weekly updates if you want to go and watch those, but they kind of explain a little bit more in detail about any issues I had throughout the pregnancy. But we had gestational diabetes, he was measuring large, I had polyhydramnios, all these things were going on during pregnancy, being high risk anyway because of a previous section, having a previous premature baby. There were loads of like contributing factors as to why I was classed as like high risk. And rather than being midwife led, we were consultant led. So I was under a consultant throughout the pregnancy, and obviously we consulted with each other as to how things were going to progress throughout time, etc. So after being diagnosed with certain conditions, etc., the doctor was happy with me to try and give birth naturally. It was originally 41 weeks, then it went to 40 weeks, and then it went down to 39 weeks. So the doctor was happy for me to try and give birth naturally all the way up until 39 weeks. But then if it didn't happen at that point, then to either be induced or obviously have a C-section. After speaking with like the cesarean team versus like the VBAC team, etc., I thought it'd be best for me personally to have a C-section again, and my consultant and the midwives, they were equally as you know, they were happy for me to have a C-section as well. And although they can't say what's best for me, from their sort of professional standpoint, they thought a C-section would be best as well. I did speak about it a little bit in one of the videos, but being induced can have a higher risk of your scar rupturing from a previous section, and that's like one thing I just wanted to avoid. Whereas with an elective section, it can be a lot more controlled, and although the recovery is very difficult from that, you know, recovery can be difficult from all births, so we opted for a section in the end. So really the process was then of the section, obviously, you know, there was numerous times leading up to the 39 weeks that I thought I was going into labour. I didn't film too much towards the end of the pregnancy because I was just feeling really tired, drained all the time. I was having cramps, backache, couldn't sleep, you name it, I had it. So I didn't film too much towards the end of the pregnancy. But I received an email, I think it was about 2 weeks before my section, with multiple documents with like a pre-op letter, the section letter, and it came with like all the dates that things were going to be. So I ended up the day before my section, so on the Tuesday I had a pre-op. Never had a pre-op before. a little bit of quick background. I've, like I said, spoken about this in plenty of other videos, but I've had a previous section before. I had a emergency section with my little boy George. He was born at 33 weeks, and I was trying to give birth naturally to him, but then things went wrong. Ended up having an emergency section under general anaesthetic. So it was very unexpected, whereas this time it was a lot more different. It was controlled, and obviously it was expected to happen. So because it was an elective surgery, then there was a pre-op the day before. It's usually like a week before or a couple of days before, but they could only squeeze me in literally the day before. So at the appointment then, it was really straightforward. They just measured me, they did my weight, they took bloods for certain conditions, they did swabs for, is it MRSA, I think, and they also did, they gave me like COVID tests as well, and then they also gave me some medication that they wanted me to take. So one was an anti-sickness and the other was an anti-acid, I believe, and they sort of went through with me my medical history, checked all my details, and they went through my hospital bag list as well. The nurse that I spoke to was so lovely. I don't think that's like standard practice, going through those extra things. I think she just did that to help me out, which was really lovely of her. And then we went through like timings and what the sort of process was going to be the following day. I can certainly say that going into the hospital and having the pre-op, it really made my nerves escalate, and it made everything seem a lot more real, because although I knew I was going to be having a baby anytime, it didn't seem that real. So the pre-op definitely made it seem a lot more realistic. So yeah, that was the pre-op. So we went and had that done on the Tuesday. And then obviously went home Tuesday night, had to stop eating by, I believe it was 2:30 in the morning. So I had my dinner at normal time, took the medication, the antacids alongside that, and then just before bed, at like 11, I had a big bowl of cereal just to keep me going. And then even from, I think it was then from 2:30 or from 6:30 maybe, I wasn't even allowed any fluids, not even water. You have like the odd sip, but nothing drastic, which was really difficult because I was just addicted to drinking lots and lots of water throughout the pregnancy and wanting to stay hydrated. So that was really difficult. But anyway, rolling on to Wednesday then, which was the day of the surgery. I woke up extremely nervous. My teeth were chattering. I was, of course, very, very excited, but the nerves definitely were more overpowering than the excited feeling. I was nervous about leaving George for the first time. This is the first time that I've been away from him for a lengthy period of time. The only sort of time I'm not with George is when I'm at work or he's at nursery, so that was like a big first, and he is 4, you know, so having been with him for like 4 years, and that really set my anxieties off a little bit. And then also the thought of being cut open and having surgery. Obviously, like I said, my previous section was under general anaesthetic, so I was completely unaware of what was going on, whereas this time it was going to be a lot more I was going to be aware of what was going on, so I was very nervous about that. So we had to be at the hospital then for 7:30 in the morning, which was really early, but there was like a long list of things that I needed to get done before we left to go to the hospital. Obviously I wanted to make sure that there was no traffic. We live down in Kent, and I'm not sure if you've seen the news or, you know, whatever it is, but we live quite close to or near like the Eurotunnel and the port, and there's always traffic on the motorway, so I didn't want to risk getting stuck in traffic either. So I wanted to make sure we left with plenty of time. We got parking, all that kind of thing. So I kind of wanted to leave the house at like 6:30, 6:45. So I asked my mum to get here for 6:30 to have George, because she was the one that was going to be taking care of George for us throughout the next sort of few days or so. But there was like things I need to get done. So they wanted me to have a shower that following morning, remove all my jewellery. I needed to shave the scar area, which was really difficult. My partner helped me with that because I just couldn't see anything. There was more medication that I needed to take, but then also I needed to pack, although my like hospital bags and everything were packed, there was like things that we obviously had throughout the night that I needed to pack, like chargers, you know, snacks, drinks, that kind of thing that I just wanted to know was sort of there and ready to go. So that was our morning. So yeah, we got to the hospital then at 7:30. We got there a little bit early. No one else was there yet, and we got shown to a ward. In this ward there were 4 beds, and there was going to be 3, I think there was 3. So there's going to be 3 of us in total that were having sections on that day. we would all be having them that morning. They were all elective sections, and then we'd sort of all be in that recovery room together. So we got there at 7:30. When we first arrived then, they sort of took my documents, they took my purple folder. I had a sort of a thing called a baby alert, which sort of highlights all the things going wrong in my pregnancy. So the group B strep, polyhydramnios, gestational diabetes, all that kind of thing. It was in my baby alert, although the midwives probably should have known it and it would be in my notes. By having it on one piece of paper, it just makes it a lot more easy for the midwives and the doctors to be able to see. So I handed all of that over, and then we got given some really, really lovely clothes for the operating room. So I just got given like a nice, you know, like a gown, and then my partner got some scrubs as well, which he looked really flattering in. And when we sort of had those on, it just made it seem a lot more real, that we were going to be going into surgery sort of like in the next couple of hours or so. So once we had our, like, I was going to say uniform, once we had our hospital clothes on, then we was kind of like ready to go down as and when. We needed to take down a few items with us to the operating room. So we had like a little sort of like separate plastic bag that we took down with us, and in there was some feed for him. So there was a bottle of ready SMA milk, there was nappies, there was a hat, there was a vest, just things, and like blankets, etc., things that he will need for when he comes out. Although the hospital do supply like blankets and things like that, we just wanted to take a few of our own things. They were things that George actually had when he was in hospital, which is just something that I felt like was quite nice for them to sort of be close together. So I did use some of the blankets and things and the vests that George wore when he was in hospital. Obviously they were washed and things, but it just meant something to me. Once then we got all of that organised, we had the anaesthetist and the doctors come round to talk to us about risks and complications of surgery, which was quite scary. And then we had to sign consent forms, or I had to sign consent forms. So the anesthesiologist came round and obviously discussed what the process is of having a spinal block. Went through like the whole list of complications from it, side effects, that kind of thing, the process of it and how it would actually work, and obviously made sure that I hadn't eaten or drunk anything for so long. I had sort of took my weight again, so we knew sort of how much to administer, that kind of thing. And then the doctor came round again, asked if I was happy with going ahead with the section, explaining the risks and the benefits and the complications of the surgery, and then obviously made me sign a document to say that I was happy to go ahead and I understood the risks from it and what could obviously happen. Quite scary when one of the main risks there was like bleeding to death, and I thought, oh, that's great. I was petrified anyway, and that's just made it like 10 times worse. So once we had that, then they sort of went round, all three of us at once, and then we found out that we were actually first down to theatre, which I am really grateful for now. Although at the time I was petrified, my teeth were shattering, like I could not control, I had the unbearable shakes, I just could not control how shaky I was because I was that nervous. And so part of me wanted to maybe go last because I was just that scared, but looking back now, I'm really glad we went first because I couldn't have been that nervous all the way until the afternoon. I just don't think my body could have coped with how nervous I was. So it was kind of good to just get it over and done with, and just be first up. And we got to meet our little boy a lot quicker than we thought as well. So there are benefits of obviously going first and being scared. So once they announced that we were going first, you actually walk round to theatre, which was really weird because I was wearing a gown that had like my bum hanging out. Luckily I took a dressing gown with me so I could slide that over. Had my slippers, which barely fit on my feet because my feet were so swollen. I just looked ridiculous, but you had to like walk out of the main maternity ward, down a corridor that's just like past shops and things, to the operating room. I thought like they took you on your bed or on a chair or at least something like that, but no, I had to do like a walk, looking lovely in my hospital gear, to the operating room. So the midwife came with us. There was also like a healthcare assistant and a student midwife, I believe, that walked around with us, and we went to the operating room. I kind of remembered it a little bit from George, although I was put to sleep. when it was an emergency section, we got whisked down really quickly, but I had to like transfer myself to the bed, I had to take medication before being put under, so I kind of like remember the room layout a little bit. It was kind of blurry, but it did kind of it kind of brought back some memories, which is another thing that made me feel really anxious. But we went in, it's very white and clean, and I was surprised at how relaxed and calm it was. Like I say, comparing it to George's experience where it was really rushed, it was an emergency, it was really scary, and this time it was just so calm, and everyone looked happy, everyone was saying hello, everyone was talking. It was just a really calming experience. I say calming, it didn't really calm my nerves, but it did make me feel a lot more at ease about the whole process. Obviously my partner, he was with me the whole time, which I'm so grateful for. I've heard stories where or like experiences where the woman has gone off to have the like the epidural or the spinal put in, and then the partner will join them after that, and I'm petrified of needles and the whole process anyway, so I was really desperate to have my partner there with me during the whole thing, and they were absolutely fine with that, which I'm really grateful for. One of the scrub nurses actually was a girl we went to school with, which was lovely to see her, and she made me feel at ease as well, and it was nice seeing a familiar face in a sort of like an environment where I was quite scared and unsure about what was going on anyway. And she was actually the one that ended up putting on lovely calming music for me. I remember she was telling me how well I was doing the whole time, kept me updated, but she also took my partner's phone and took the most amazing pictures of this one being born, which I am forever grateful for that we have those. I'm really happy that we have access to those pictures. Anyway, getting off track. So we went into the operating room then, and they asked me to sit on a bed. So obviously the surgeons were getting ready for their part, the midwives were getting everything ready for baby, when baby came out, and the anesthesiologist was going first, the anaesthetist. So the anaesthetist asked me to lie down on my side. So I lay down on my side, had to tuck my legs up to my chest and like stick my back out like an arch, which for some reason, I don't know if it was because I was really nervous, but my body really struggled to actually do what they were asking me to do. Oh, before I did that, actually, they did put a cannula in my arm. I've actually got quite a big bruise from it. I can't really show you because I don't know if you can really see that there. I'm holding Littlin. But they had to put in a cannula, and I thought they were going to put it like in my arm or my hand or even my wrist, but they put it in the side of my wrist, and to do that they actually put in a local anaesthetic first, and I was really confused because normally when you have a cannula they just put a cannula in, but they put in a local anaesthetic into my wrist, and then put this big needle into my wrist for the cannula. So I'm kind of glad that they gave me a local anaesthetic first. Then yeah, like I say, I was lying on my side to have the anaesthetic. This is probably the part I was most nervous for because growing up, or reading things about sections, I was always told that if you moved during the epidural or the spinal, there's a chance that you can be paralysed from it. So having that in the back of my mind, the anaesthetist says that isn't necessarily the right accurate information, but that kind of made me really scared, so I was petrified anyway. So they went in first of all with a local anaesthetic. The local anaesthetic obviously numbs the area enough before then that they put the big epidural spinal needle in to put obviously to sort of numb the lower area of yourself. Now I remember him saying at the beginning that they will do it a maximum of 4, they will try a maximum of 4 times to get the spinal in, and if they can't do it on the 4th attempt, if they can't do it on that 4th attempt, then they will probably end up doing a general anaesthetic, because they can't obviously waste too much time trying to get the spinal in the right place if your body's not taking to it. So they put in the local anaesthetic and the epidural needle 3 times in 3 different locations, and it was painful. I'm not going to lie, I've spoken to a lot of people that have said it's like a cat scratch. It caused me a lot of pain. When they obviously kept hitting the wrong place, they kept hitting different sort of like nerves, and they just couldn't get it in the right location. It was sending like shooting pains down my legs. It was a really unpleasant, uncomfortable experience. I was getting really nervous on that third attempt when it hadn't worked and he was going to be doing it just once more. And I thought, oh no, here we go again. It's going to end up in general anaesthetic, not going to experience it. My partner's not going to see it. But I'm really grateful on that fourth attempt, they managed to get it in the right location. The anaesthetist was the most kind man. I will remember him as well. There's those two people in my surgery, was the girl I went to school with and the anaesthetist, just the most lovely, caring people, and I'm so glad that they were there to sort of assist me and guide me through it. But once the anaesthetic was in there was such a weird feeling. Your sort of bottom half starts going all warm, and a bit sort of like numb and pins and needly, and then I just kind of like went a bit of a dead weight. So I was trying to lift my legs, I couldn't lift my legs. They did a lot of different sort of tests, like techniques and things before actually having the surgery. So they would lift my legs or ask me to lift my legs up. They'd ask if I could feel things. They put the catheter in. I couldn't feel any of it. I could feel sensation. I could feel them like touching me, if that makes sense. Or I couldn't even really feel them touching me, but I could feel something. Whether it was like vibrations or pins and needles, I could feel something going on down there. But there was no pain, and there was no discomfort whatsoever. So they sort of talked me through the whole experience then, as I couldn't really feel anything. So once obviously the anaesthetic had worked, the spinal block had worked, they put a catheter in to obviously collect urine, seeing as I was going to be numb from the waist down for the next however many hours. So they put a catheter in. And then at 9:40, I heard the doctor say knife to skin. So that is when the surgery started. And like I say, I couldn't really feel anything at all at this point. I had no idea. They just sliced me open and I was bleeding everywhere, and baby was coming out. So at 9:40 the surgery started, and at 9:48 little Finley was born into the world, crying, and he was huge and he was lovely, and it made me so emotional. I feel like, I don't know, I'm going to cry now. I feel like with George, where I didn't get that experience, and so many women want to have that connection with their baby when they're first born. They want to have that skin to skin. I didn't get that with George, and I didn't meet him for however many hours after the birth, and I really struggled with that. I felt like I struggled to bond with him when he was in the NICU. So it was just such a relief to witness a child be born, and I don't think I anticipated how emotional I would be, and I just cried and cried and cried. And they took him away, the midwives took him away first of all and just checked him over, made sure he was happy and healthy and okay, and they brought him straight back to me, and we did skin to skin. I'll insert a picture here of us. I think I'm going to use it as the thumbnail anyway, but I'll insert a picture here of us doing some immediate skin to skin anyway. But it was just the most amazing experience to sort of witness your child be born. And they weighed him. So I thought by looking at him, I thought he was going to be like £6.13. I was trying to compare to George. George was £4.13. My partner thought 7.5, and this little chunk came in at £8.5, which is huge. And they've been telling me that I was going to have a big baby anyway throughout the pregnancy. But the last growth scan that I had, he was only £7.1, and that was a week before. And they had told me that he'd actually stopped growing, but they weren't sort of too worried about the rates he was not growing, if that makes sense. So no way did I anticipate I'd be having an £8.5 baby. He just doesn't look it. He definitely feels heavy, but he does not look like a really chunky baby. So all was well then. He was happy, he was healthy. My partner and me, we met him. There was music playing in the background. Like I say, it was just a really calming and relaxing experience. I think up until the moment he was born, I was really nervous. I was really worried about everything, but when he's here and when he was in my arms, that is the moment I just felt so relieved. I didn't have any fear anymore or worries. And then the lengthy part was then me sewing me up. People are right. I feel like a lot of people told me it was like someone rummaging around in a handbag or washing up. I really didn't feel any of that, if I'm being completely honest. The only thing I felt is like pressure. They kept pushing my tummy a lot. I did feel that, but apart from that, it was just a really smooth experience, and I think that sort of that ends a bit of them sort of sewing me up that took about half an hour to 40 minutes. So it didn't feel like that though, like the time just flew by so quickly once I had him in my arms. And then my partner took him whilst I was then going into recovery. So the midwife brought my partner around, he took baby and started feeding him. That was important to me, that baby was just warm and got fed as quick as possible. So my partner took him around to recovery. I had like the last sort of few little bits done. I had got given some pain relief, some antibiotics, obviously got sewn up, got dressed, that kind of thing. And then I was wheeled round in a bed to recovery, and we spent about an hour there where they just monitored myself, my legs, that kind of thing. I had the really weird sensation that they like lifted up my legs, but I could still feel my legs like laying down and being really heavy. It was just such like a weird feeling that I thought, whose are these legs around me? Because my legs are definitely laying down. Really weird to sort of explain, but that was just the most sort of weirdest sensation I think I felt throughout the whole process. But recovery was really quick. Like I say, it didn't seem like it was an hour. The whole process, as soon as he was in my arms, everything just flew by so quickly, which I'm so grateful for, and there was no fear or worry after that. And then yeah, once you're sort of in recovery, once they're happy with baby eating, and I think it was like your urine output, that kind of thing, and that you were reacting to the anaesthetic the right way, then they wheeled you back round to the ward. And I think we were back round to the ward by 11 AM, maybe like half 11, so just before lunch. And I just wanted to sleep. I was so tired. Obviously we had cuddles. Obviously I couldn't move, I couldn't walk because my legs were dead for like 12 hours afterwards. I don't know if it's because the amount of anaesthetic that was put in, because it just wasn't working. They tried however many times. I'm quite a small petite person anyway, but I just, like, there were people up around me that were walking around that had sections after me, but I physically couldn't move my legs. So yeah, we had obviously cuddles, you know, the whole day. My partner stayed up until late, but we wanted him to go home to be with my little boy George. Although my mum was around, my mum is great, we wanted George to have a little bit of normality. So my partner went back home late, put him to bed, and then got him up and took him to nursery, and then came back up the following day. But all in all, it was the most amazing experience that I would do again. We're not having any more children. I am done at 2, but I am really sad that we won't be doing that again. But like I say, compared to George's experience, and I love my birth story with George in a way because it's his birth story, but I found it really difficult, and it has affected me and my mental health a little bit. You know, throughout however many years, I felt a lot of guilt about it, and having this time, I think, was just amazing to experience. It's something that I've always wanted to experience. I've watched people go through, and I just wanted that for myself, is to experience a birth of your child and be awake for it, be present for it. So like I said, I didn't anticipate how emotional I would be. It still makes me tear up now thinking about it. When I've watched programs on giving birth, that I've been watching One Born Every Minute, or other people's sort of like pregnancy vlogs, they just make me emotional. And I think it's because I probably am really hormonal still. But it was just the most amazing and surreal experience that I'm really sad I'm not going to be doing again. So I think that is where I'm going to end this video. I may do like a video on the recovery, but I feel like I've just waffled for like half an hour, and I'm not really sure what I may have said or not have said, and I didn't think I'd be speaking for this long. So if you've made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching, and if you did enjoy, please give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Obviously, once I've now made this video, I am feeling a little bit more on my feet, so I'm probably going to record some videos for my channel. If there's anything in particular that you want to see, or any questions that you have, leave a comment down below, message me on Instagram, and I can obviously make some videos or answer any questions that you guys might have. If you're coming up to having a C-section soon and there's anything you're worried about, obviously let me know. We can always chat about it and I can tell you my experience. But yeah, that's where I'm going to end today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely rest of your day, and it's goodbye from me and little Finn.